And good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Olympian Table. It's a pleasure to get my buddy back, who's been away for the last 2 weeks with family business. How you doing today, James?
Man, I'm here. I can't complain. Got a little road scruff on me. Don't get used to it, folks. I'll be shaving this crap off soon. But I am here on this hump day, and glad to be back, man. Glad to be back
Well,
here at the table.
well, it's nice to get you back. It
Yes.
really is. It's nice to be back, and hopefully we can keep it going.
Yeah, you had some interesting guests, man. I was able to kind of tune in a little bit while I was away. You had some interesting discussion. I guess you talked some people into coming on, man. You twist
We
their
did.
arms a bit
We did. I didn't have
to
to
get them
twist
in
too
there.
much. It was nice
Too
to
much?
get. It was nice to get them on.
It's always good to kind of get some different opinions. I know it's
Yeah,
about
and I
us.
think I think we should do that a little bit more. To be perfectly honest, in the future. How I feel about it.
You don't know how you feel about it?
No, I don't know how I feel about it. A lot of it depends on what they use it for. And if they're looking at the local porn sites and all the,
But who cares if you give it to them? They should be free to look at whatever they want, right? I mean, you don't want to devise a plan to take over the country, which I think it'll be monitored. But if it's internet service, it's internet service. Are we going to start kind of filtering through what people can see? What do you think?
As I said,
Come on, tell me what you're thinking, man. What you thinking?
but I don't know
Is
what
that
I
what your
think on
concern
this.
is?
Yeah, I mean, if it's for learning purposes and stuff that's makes somebody's life more positive, whether it's, I mean, I think students would be good to have this, or perhaps they would abuse it more. I don't know. Looking at, what's they call it, the
Dark web?
the
To the internet. So a lot of them couldn't work efficiently at home. They either had to go to like a library or maybe to someone else's home. because these students didn't have access to the internet. So this is kind of an answer to that problem for those folks that need or want internet service. So, but I'm with you. It gives me some pause as to what people will be looking up. But I mean, what do you do?
To me, it all depends on what they want to use it for. I'll be honest with you. I don't know even how comfortable I feel with paying for free internet.
Well,
Even giving people free internet. I don't quite know how I feel about that.
Well, I don't think it's free. It's going to be $30 a month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so at least they're paying something.
They're paying something. Yeah, it'd be $30 a month for people with low income, and they can get this little.
If they're paying $30 a month, then they can look at whatever they want.
Yeah, $30 a month. Now, I would say there is a subsidy.
It's not free. It's subsidized.
Well, some of them there is going to be a $30 a month subsidy that can make it fully paid for with assistance if they sign up with one of the providers that are on the list. These are the heavy hitters: AT&T, Comcast, Frontier, Cox, Mediacom, Spectrum, Verizon. It's not just some fly-by-night company that they're dealing with. These are the major companies that are actually going to be
if they're paying
part of it.
Whatever, then I'm okay with that actually. If they're paying something for it, but the way that reads, new program offers free internet service is different between paying $30 a month.
Well, some of it will be free if they get the government subsidy. So if they sign up and qualify, it will be free for them. So that's the idea behind it, I believe. So, it's kind of one of those things where, what do you do? People need the help. I don't see that there's any difference between this and.
I think the biggest problem I've got with this,
the Obama
sorry to tell you, is the Fox thing because the new program offers free internet service is not how it actually reads. It actually reads, President Biden announced 20 companies have agreed to provide discounted service at $30 a month.
Right, but if you go down further on that,
right,
it talks about the subsidy.
And here we go again with, the Fox and the CNN thing. That's the problem I've got with it. Why can't they just all be honest with the whole thing? Because really that is how it reads, to me anyway. Families of 4 earning $55,000 annually are eligible. About 40% of Americans will qualify. But if they're using it, I think personally, somebody in the house should be a student or whatever. I think there should be something. I should be thinking it's other things they need to qualify for.
But you think there should be restrictions on where they visit or what they look at on there?
Well, obviously, I don't think people will be watching you as an answer. But I don't know how you could control that.
I don't think you can.
But at the same time, if something's free, what value is it? You and me have spoke about this, in the future. I mean, if somebody is paying to go to college, then I think internet could be included in that package.
Right. Time out. Whatever you just did, Everett, that sounds, whatever the last move you made, the sound is much better on that. Okay, so whatever it is, because it sounds much better, audio-wise. So.
Okay.
All right.
But that's just my feeling on it. My biggest problem with that isn't the free internet service. It's the Fox thing that says new program offers free internet service for 48 million. And to me, that's not what the article really reads.
Well, you know how the media is, though. They grab you with a headline.
But that's the problem.
Yeah, they grab you with a headline.
That's the problem with social media. That's the problem with it. Doesn't add to our political situation. It actually ruins it.
Yeah,
and that's part of the problem that I've got. Is it free to some people? Yes, I think it should be. But I think there should be qualifications, not just what you earn, but are you a student going through college?
Right.
If you're a student going through college, then I think there's a practical reason for you to have that. If you're below a particular income and you're employed and you need internet service for that job, then perhaps that should be a condition. I think it should be controlled. I do think there should be some level of control. I just don't agree with giving everything away off the table.
I like the way you're thinking. You kind of sound.
I don't. To me, it's more practical. If somebody needs internet service, it's a little bit like, although it really does piss me off, what I'm going to say, is when people have disabled stickers and they get out of their car and they get out and they run out of their car. All right, I hate that with a passion, because they're supposed to use that when there's a disabled person and they're helping that disabled person run.
So
to me, it's the same with.
Got it. So to that point, let's say the disability that they have is not debilitating. Maybe it's a degenerative type of disease, and they haven't gotten to the point to where they're down and
But I'm talking about when that particular person with the stickers for is not even in the car.
Well, how do you know that?
I've seen it. I've seen it on our parking lot.
Oh,
somebody used to work for us.
This is...
that was disabled, that was in a wheelchair, and he had to park when we was at 2626 South West.
Oh, yeah, that's different. If you know of the person, but I thought you were talking about like at the grocery.
So much.
Yeah,
we've got from the disabled stickers, but he used to piss me off so much when he had to park miles away because he was in later and he wasn't there early. He wasn't an early bird. But in all fairness, I gave him a break because, you know, the position he was in, and he had to struggle in a wheelchair, you know. So anyway, but as I said, I think there should be qualifications, but not just qualifications, although I think it is important, but I think there should be, are they studying? Do they need that internet for a job to help them work their job? You know,
for you, it doesn't need to be for leisure, not for leisure. It needs to be for a purpose.
Yes.
The internet.
Yes.
I'm with you.
I think there needs to be a purpose. I don't think we should be going just, you know, giving it away. And then if you want to talk about, we're going to move on. Can we move on?
Well, yeah, sure, we can. Go ahead.
I would like to talk about $6 gas price.
Well, you want to talk about bad news, huh? I mean, we got bad news going on all around us, but $6 gas prices. Yeah, what you got to say about $6 gas prices?
I filled my Suburban up now. In all fairness, we've got a Suburban, 12 years old. I don't know, 48,000 miles. We hardly use it. We just lump it for very, very few family trips. And it was running on gas. I hadn't filled it up for a long time because of the cost of gas, thinking, you know what? Prices are going to come down.
Right.
Well, 100% wrong. So I go fill it up. But I always do, because I get a fair price over at Sam's. And to fill that...
It went back. Whatever you did, it went back.
To
back where it was.
To fill that Suburban up cost $105.
Wow. That was on E?
I felt like you need to ride me a bed, you know, just because of the shock. Lying down and taking the shock. $105. That's probably the most I've ever paid since I've been in the States, which is, you know, next down for 25 years.
Now, is that 87 octane, 89, 91?
Just the lower one.
Oh, the 87. Okay.
The lower one.
$105. That's a lot.
My wife has got a Mercedes. I mean, she's really getting out of it.
Yeah, she has to put the 91 or higher, right? My car, it's not Suburban, but it's an SUV as well. But I got to the point where I just try not to let it get down too much below half a tank. But we have to use the 91 or higher, and I put in right at $60, and it was right at half a tank, like a few days ago. So there you go. Whatever you just did, that works.
And, the unfortunate thing with the high gas prices, and I think it's going to happen because of the Ukraine war, but the unfortunate thing with it, it's going to have such a knock-on effect.
Yeah.
You know, because by all accounts, there's a lot of other things that the Ukraine war and the whole Russia thing is going to affect. They're saying that Russia controls 80% of the world's uranium, and all the mining that they have and all they do. It's really going to, hit people.
Well, I'll say this: the gas itself, we've had some remedy for our issues domestically speaking. Um, and again, whether it was a direct effect or not, I do know that we just don't have it now. But shortly after this administration took over, we closed down some pipelines, and now here we are. We're energy deficient, shall I say? And they were cutting and giving all this money away for people in these $600 checks, and now we got inflation high. Gas prices have doubled, tripled in some areas.
And
it's all gone.
I agree with what you're saying, but the problem I've got with what you're saying is this. We've had this problem for 20 years. We've had the problem of inflation for the last 20 years, whether they've been Republican, whether they've been Democrat. They haven't done anything about it. Now somebody, because their back's to the wall, that they've got to do something about it, because they've been pushed so much, with the Fed. They've been pushed to such a point. Now they're doing something about it. Now it's because they're a Democrat.
Now, that has nothing to do with it for me.
And I agree. And that's how
it's never been this bad.
And that's how I feel about it. But I quite honestly feel that this has gone on for 20 years with quantitative, easing. They've just been printing money, and devaluing our currency. Whether they've been Republican, whether they've been Democrat, they've been doing it. And that's what I really feel is a problem.
Well, the issue we were with now is we've been in the past couple of years, to your point, printing and giving away this money, coming out of an economy where it was for everybody. We were pretty much doing really, really well, and now to be in this position now. So not to call it whether it's Republican or Democrat, period. You can't continue that type of operation. You can't, and then expect it to be okay. So now we're in a position where this is the highest that it's ever been, and everybody's kind of throwing their hands up, and it's like, oh, what do we do? What do we do? And the crazy thing with it, which I never understood, things usually, there's a gradual move towards whatever extreme is going to be, if it's going to be really low or if it's going to be really high. Man, this gas prices and like interest rates, it was like within a week, it just turned. And no one's gotten a raise. Everybody's making the same money. And it's like, what do you do? What do people do?
I'll be honest with you. That's the biggest. Some companies have given a raise. All right. Some companies have given a raise. But that's the one thing that I as a business owner, really feel guilty about. I'm making less and less money just like everybody else. And I'd like to be in a position to give my employees, to help with the inflation problem.
Right.
But it's just difficult.
It's hard.
It is difficult. And I do think you're going to see a lot of businesses go out of business. And what do people come to America for? A lot of people and immigrants like me come to America to hopefully live the American dream. And I own some properties, and I'm very, very concerned about whether I can even hold on to them properties, in the future.
Yeah.
One of the HOAs that I've just had, they've gone up from $233 a month to $650 a month.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the justification?
Work needs doing to the building.
Wow. Are there no limits on how much they can increase that?
If the work isn't done to the building, then they're not going to be in a position where they can get insurance.
So they're basically passing all the cost on to
Absolutely.
the owners.
There's a 6-year plan. Now it's a lovely building. Don't get me wrong. It's a building that I've always liked. The truth of the matter is, I've always liked the building. Had a bit of a soft spot for the building. It's one of the first deals I ever did, to be perfectly honest. And I feel a bit lucky to own a property over there. But I bought it, and all the documents says it's $233 a month, and then the following month they had a meeting, an emergency meeting, and it went up to $650.
Oh, it was that fast? It switched on you? Oh, wow.
They're in a position where they've had to, do some emergency measures, and I'm all for it, to be perfectly honest, because at the end of the day, it's for an investment. I'm not all for the cost, but I'm all for doing the repairs. But I think there's a lot of people that's going to be squeezed. And I'll be honest with you, the real estate business, and you are available tomorrow, aren't you, for the Texas Real Estate Show? Because we've got somebody that's coming on as a guest that is over a lot of the real estate offices with Century 21 in Texas and Louisiana.
I actually have a mud meeting tomorrow, so it depends on what time you're trying to do it. My meeting starts at 10, so hopefully I'll be finished.
But we're getting him on, and I'm getting him predominantly to basically see how he's seen other offices with the money that's been pumped into it, that's been printed, and we obviously know where that's gone. It hasn't achieved much, and what he sees for the next three years. Because I really see a lot of people in our business, the real estate business, going out of business.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And there's an article we bring up later on regarding the builders. The builders are now beginning to feel it. And that's the first step of what
we said that they would feel it first,
and the builders are now starting to feel it.
Yeah,
and I really feel that in relation to just a lot of things, I think it's going to be difficult. Because of the inflation we've got at the moment from gas prices, which will affect everything.
Right.
I mean, come on, when you go to the store and you can't get baby formula.
Yeah, that.
I mean, I know that's completely different, but it's not just in America. They've got the same issue in Europe. I mean, you're now paying European prices, to be perfectly honest, for your gas.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, funny enough,
it's always been that price. When I came here, I thought you was giving the gas away.
Well, it's in liters over there, though. It's different. We're doing gallons here.
But it's still a lot more expensive.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, because you're not getting a full gallon.
Yeah,
you're not getting.
So it's very, very, very expensive, and I really feel it's going to push some people to the wall.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll
there's
see.
a lot more reasons why they walk. I mean,
they have a much better transit.
One, it's healthier. Two, there's rules in Texas that doesn't allow sidewalks. In some areas, sidewalks aren't allowed. And I say to everybody, I think it's so ridiculous. If I'm going from here to the restaurant next door, all right, there's no sidewalk.
Right.
Technically, what does that mean? I've got to get in my car and drive there. Now, the other side of the coin is everything's spread out in Texas. But a lot of subdivision, like you were saying, that in your subdivision that you're in, you had to fight for sidewalks, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. Actually, the mud, we paid for them to put them in, to put the sidewalks in.
And the other part is it's just more. Public transport is so much more accessible in Europe.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's not great. Down in the South, it's not as great.
Things are not going to change overnight. So let's talk about the home sales plunge in April, if we could.
Mm-hmm. As we power through this list.
New home sales dropped on the fourth straight month in April, offering another sign that the housing market is starting to slow. The volume of new single-family home sales fell to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 591,000 last month, according to the Census Bureau of the Department of Housing and Urban Development, down 16.6% from March rate to 26.9.
It's not. I'm not. We're not. I'm not surprised.
Well, we said that was going to happen. You know, one of the other articles that I put in about this that I seen that was interesting. There was a little bit of a contradiction.
Whatever you did, it changed it. The sound. The
Good or bad?
the deal with it was back where it's not. It was good. It took it back to tone sound now. So now what I'm if this turn this mic down.
It is all.
Okay, it is all right. But to our point, we talked about the builders feeling it because they were kind of squeezing. There it is, it's back. They were squeezing people because, of course, we know the builders create their own comps. But if people aren't coming to your community to buy your homes, then they're down.
You know, and I know the amount of times that we've seen people screwed to the wall by going straight to the builder and not having a good real estate agent.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Good and bad real estate agents. It just blows me away at times.
It does, because they don't.
And with all the incentives that they give, there's a reason why they give you guys incentives.
Because they're overcharging you.
Because they're overcharging you and they're screwing you to the wall.
Absolutely.
And I say to everybody, if somebody's giving you something, an excessive amount of money, or they're giving you something, they want something in return.
Yep.
And there were some points that I put on the sheet that I thought was a little bit contradictive, if you want to, about this point.
Mm-hmm.
I'll find the point, but one is on here we're saying new home sales are down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then there was another article that I had found. And it says a recession is likely to hit. No, it wasn't that one. I was on. Using market has finally turned a corner. All right. Do you think the housing market's turned a corner?
You mean as far as shifting?
Yeah. And then
not yet.
I don't either.
Not yet.
I don't see that because we haven't got the inventory.
Right.
You know,
I wonder what they're basing that on. Did they say what they're basing that on?
One of the articles I put in was new home sales plunge in April. Then there was another article I put in that was out there, and it basically says, good news for home buyers. Fannie Mae chief economist says the U.S. housing market has finally turned a corner. Here's why. And this is what I can't understand. I mean, this is Fannie Mae, all right? And their stock price has dropped incredibly. It says a sharper downturn in residential investment is now underway, said Doug Duncan, chief economist at Fannie Mae. Okay? The inventory shortage, high prices, rising interest rates have finally bitten. Single-family home sales fell sharply by 16.6% in April, which is what the other article said, to a seasonally adjusted annualized rate of 591,000, according to Census Bureau data released Tuesday. That was the slowest rate of sales since April 2020 during the earliest days of COVID-19 pandemic. What's more, new home sales in March were revised downturn significantly to 763 to 709, the Census Bureau said. The new home sales report released today by the Census Bureau clearly points to a housing market that has turned, said Doug Duncan, chief economist at Fannie Mae. Now, do you think the market's turned?
I think it's turning. I do think it's turning. I mean, if you use it just based on these numbers.
Now, you'll understand the next bit.
Just
right?
because
I don't understand the next bit. Mortgage rates have risen 200 basis points since the end of 2021, putting pressure on existing home sales, mortgage applications, and home builder confidence, he said. A sharper downturn in residential investment is now underway, and we will likely be revising downward or near-term home sales forecasts.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
so
it's
you agree with
evident.
him?
It's evident that, I mean, rates did go up. And I think that might be conservative in some areas. It might have been more than that, saying 200 basis points, which is roughly, it's 2%. Because interest rates are in the twos, 2.5, 2 7/8. Now you're hard pressed to find something below 5. So,
One of our clients the other day cancelled a contract. I think you might have told me this. Or if not, it was one of the agents. They were saying they had a contract in for a new home build. Now that apparently I don't know if it was you or not. The agent was saying that the finance offer had told them that $2,400 a month was tight for them. That it was the high end, and could they really afford it?
right.
But because the interest rate had gone up and then held out, the new payment for the new home was $3,000, which completely blew them out the water.
Wow.
So they cancelled the contract. Was that you that told me that?
No, that wasn't me.
So,
But that doesn't surprise me, though.
so now they're still renting. They're still renting. They're still renting. Yada yada yada.
I mean, what does someone like that? What do they do? Because in their mind they'll say, "Oh, we'll just wait. We'll just wait." But if you wait, I mean, I do feel like interest rates will pull back, but will the prices pull back? That's the issue.
You see, and here's the other part to what I read you earlier on from MarketWatch. A separate report released Tuesday by Realtor.com suggested that people are prepared to buy and sell homes at more approachable price points.
Mm.
All right. George Ratiu, senior economist and manager of economic research at Realtor.com, said the report offers hope for sellers and buyers.
I'd say anything that can help the little
I
man,
wouldn't-
the little person, is better than anything
And
else.
I totally agree with that. But I went to a home yesterday and to list a house. Somebody's selling the house. They want it sold in a hurry. The house, from a valuation point of view, on the open market, when at the highest point, I mean, it needs a lot of work. It needs updating. It's a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. Realistically, you might get 195, 200,000.
Mm-hmm.
Now the price point to get a home, any home, in that point is significant. So I'm interested to see how that home's going to list, because to get a home, any home, under 200,000,
It's almost unheard of now.
right? It is. And so with interest rates now, this would be the house that I've got is. We're going to put it in the MLS in the next couple of days. Is basically, it's a great first-time home buyer for somebody. All right. It's got window units. It's got gas stove. I mean, it needs updating. Somebody could move in and fix it up,
Mm-hmm.
in their own time. But I think it's going to be interesting to see
It
how
will.
long that home takes to sell.
Because this time last year, it would have been gone like
Oh,
hotcakes.
absolutely. Now,
Yeah.
the seller who's out of town needs to sell that home. They need to sell the home. So it's a motivated seller. That's what I
Were
think.
they living in it? Or it's
No,
an investment?
No,
Okay.
the father was living in it, and the father has been taken into residential care.
Okay. Got it.
So,
Well, all we can do is just hang on, Steve. We've been through these cycles, man.
well, with all this inflation as well, it worries me, because I do think inflation has hit. And it'll be really, it's just it's going to be a very testing time for a lot of people.
It will be.
The businesses, you know, the people working, you know. So, can we sort of come off this Uvalde school shooter? Can we talk about that?
Oh, absolutely. I was going to save it to the end, but
Yeah, I'd like to
yeah.
talk. I'd like to talk about it
because I like to spend some time on it. I don't know if anything else on here that.
that's actually why I'm suggesting we do it.
Okay, well, let's go ahead.
Because you know you're a pro gunny.
Yes.
I'm sort of on the line.
Although you're a gun owner.
Although I'm a gun owner. But what's your feeling on this?
It's a terrible situation.
See, let me tell you what I think.
Oh,
first,
well, you go then.
All right. I don't think it's necessarily a gun problem. I think it's a mental health issue.
You ready for me?
Yeah, absolutely.
I totally agree. It's not a gun problem. Guns don't jump up off of a table or out of a cabinet and run and shoot people. People do. It's a people problem. And I believe the folks that have been involved in these shootings, the Buffalo shooting, there was also a shooting down in Mexico. We didn't hear about that one as much, but it was not far from our border. 11 to 12 people got shot as well. But with this particular instance, it's typically, if you noticed, it's in areas where either guns are not allowed or they're very restrictive in obtaining these guns. And these demented people, to your point, with these issues, because there's got to be a problem with someone that runs into a fourth grade classroom and murders 18, 19 kids. That's a problem with that person. And I'm with you. I think we ignore, we meaning parents, or the society, the people around us, we ignore that because there's always been some stigma behind dealing with mental health. If you go, and I have to speak from just the Black community. You go and say that you're going to see a psychologist or a counselor or whatever, a therapist. That's been something for a long time that in our community, it's like, what's wrong with you, man? You crazy? You something?
So you've led on to perfectly where I want you to be. I think you and me, as time have gone on, have actually become more on the same page about quite a lot. All right. So what's your solution to the problem?
Well, one solution, and I'm in a text thread with some guys, and we were talking about it yesterday. One solution that we thought of when it comes, I mean, of course, it's kind of reactive rather than proactive. Whoever it is that's has done the shooting or whatever the case is, we have to hold that person responsible, be it their family, because this guy's 18, right? So legally, he's not old enough to buy a handgun, but he can buy a weapon. But he should not see the light of day because he is an adult technically, and he can be put on trial just like anyone else. The kid from Santa Fe that did the Santa Fe shooting, we just passed a 4-year anniversary with him. Do you know he's still being held in a mental health institution, incompetent to stand trial? I mean, it's a problem, obviously, but I think those that are involved, this guy got a hold of somebody's gun. And I was talking to my wife about this. I said, we've got to be responsible gun owners. You've got to know where your gun is. You got to know, and if it goes missing, you need to report it. But they got a hold to this gun. He got a hold to this gun some kind of way, and that's what happened. And this is the result of him getting this gun. Now, this says Texas school shooter grandpa says the family had no idea he bought 2 AR-15s. Now, here's my problem with some of this. We talked about the media switching the narrative, so to speak. I read at least 7 or 8 articles that said this guy had a handgun and possibly a rifle. Handgun, possibly a rifle. Handgun, possibly a rifle. Many different articles I read that. Now what they're saying is that he bought 2 AR-15s. You can't, I'm not saying that you can't wield 2 AR-15s, but my thing about it is we want to make it like it's so scary. This AR-15 is such the scary thing. We got to throw that out there. But it's not the AR. Even if you had an AR-15, it does the same thing as a handgun. It's a semi-automatic weapon. They operate the same way. But to your point, we need to persecute to the fullest extent that throw the book at them. Hey man, somebody got your gun, but now it's taken away from the handgun piece to the rifles because he's old enough to get a rifle. He can get a rifle, so it doesn't have to go to whoever he quote unquote had a handgun for. But if somebody got your gun out of your car or from your house and they went and killed somebody with it, you're responsible. Much like if your dog bit somebody, you'd be responsible for it. But when you change it and said, okay, well, it was a rifle. He bought 2, he got a rifle. It wasn't a handgun. Now that takes that person out of the spotlight because he never should have, and even if he bought it, he never should have had a handgun because he's not old enough to buy a handgun. But we shift and we put these stories out there. So many, he's been on Call of Duty and he's blah, blah. Man, come on, man. Let's get these people some help. You know, if your kid is in there and they're dealing with some mental health issues, we need to be able to be more involved in our kids' life, build them up, talk to them about what's going on, what might be bugging them, empower them to be able to come forward and if they're dealing with challenges that they can be free to speak. But I think many times we just ignore it. Oh, he's just a teenager. Oh, he's just a young cat. I try to do my best to talk to my kids. Talk to them, man. What's going on with you? What you dealing with? Talk to me. Because we've all been there. We've all dealt with those issues. But if we just ignore them, man, you get stuff like this. You get stuff like this. And there's people that say, oh, you need to blame the gun manufacturers. How? You can't blame a car manufacturer if they get in a car wreck and kill somebody. That doesn't make sense.
Well, they're talking about that with the autonomous vehicle.
But even with that, how can you blame the manufacturer? That makes no sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm with you. It's not the gun. It is not the gun. This article that was here talks about how this dude was in his room alone all the time. Why are y'all letting him be in his room all the time? You ain't checking in on him. He's obsessed with Call of Duty. Check in on, have a conversation with these kids. Because these kids are weak these days.
Well,
they're not built to deal with life.
I've got to be honest, I've got a 25-year-old, and that's all he seems to do in his room is play games all day long. He doesn't come out.
Even with that, you got to talk to him.
Even his mom, wants him to know what he wants for dinner, what to do. Text. I don't agree with it, but that's just, the way it is. My personal feeling is on this is I think it's a mental health problem. But I do feel that if there was free healthcare, it might be a better situation. Because that way you've got hopefully professionals around that can help in a situation like this, and hopefully wouldn't get to this situation.
Free, so they can get free mental health, you mean?
I mean, I'm a big believer in healthcare anyway. And it was interesting. I was speaking to my son Jack, used to be on the podcast last night, and what did he say? He doesn't, he didn't agree with free healthcare. Now he does, and I don't know. I'd like to get him on the show.
What was the switch?
I don't know. we didn't speak long enough to sort of, to sort of find out, to be perfectly honest. But it was just interesting to to see, he's 25 years old now. All of a sudden, I agree with free healthcare. I think not free, but I think it should be and it's not free in Europe.
Affordable. It needs to be affordable.
Everybody's got this thing about healthcare is free in Europe. No, it's not. If you want to come and look at my invoices that I'm paying for my mom,
it needs to be affordable. I think that's what you're saying, not free, but affordable, because it costs too much now.
Absolutely. I just got a bill when I had one of my epilepsy turns, and it's from my wife has really good health insurance, and the ambulance fee was nearly $1,300.
Wow.
Pretty good point with people from my age who are on healthcare. They typically like to specify what qualifies as healthcare. For one thing, there are a crap load of people who are in their 20s that saying, I need therapy, but I really don't afford it. It's like, you do realize you're being talked to another human being, right? I mean, seriously.
Well, I just think we need to talk more, period, to each other.
Oh, I think we do.
That whole, to your point, you said he texts.
I do.
All the time. I told him, call me. Let's talk.
But it's hard to get them out of that room. We found it very hard. Both kids, even when the one daughter who comes home, from college from St. Marcos, it's difficult to get them out of the room. And my son, who's a good kid, he's a man now. He's 25 years old.
Right.
He's good. And he basically goes in his room and plays, some fighting game, I don't know what it is, with all his friends on the internet. But I really, and then the other part that I want to sort of bring up, did you see Mr. Trump's in town?
Oh, no, hold on. We had a couple of comments about the...
Okay.
All great points about the gun responsibility, but what about the ones who are 30 and still cause public shootings from buying handguns? And he said, I'm asking, how do you prevent unstable shooters who aren't 18 and younger? I mean, therein lies the question. I mean, we're talking about these two because they were both 18. But that is a good question. What do you do? I think the mental health piece of it is a start. But I think where we typically run or we hear politicians run to is more gun laws. And gun laws are not going to fix the problem. Because if someone wants to run in here right now and shoot all three of us, what does a gun law have to do with any of that? Nothing. I think the gun-free zones, schools specifically, this may be a fix, may not be a fix. I think that if you're able to, one police officer on a campus typically isn't enough for 3,000 or 4,000 kids. But if there were some designated officials, professionals on campus that were allowed to also carry, and whoever was going to walk onto that campus had an idea that somebody else might have a gun, might stop it. I was showing my son. I don't know if you remember the.
I don't know how enthusiastic I am about even having guns on campus.
Well, I mean, guns are already on campus. We got police officers there.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that whoever is going to be designated to be able to do so, you do it, in emergency situation. My thing is when someone knows that they can just walk up to a school because nobody's going to have a gun there, then
that's a target.
They're a target.
Yeah.
They know. Yeah, and I don't know. It stinks, but it's I know what happens. But for those over 18 where they can buy a rifle and handguns, I don't know what you do. I don't think the problem will go away though, as long as we got people living, because folks just do stupid stuff.
The dilemma that I've got is buying more guns to me is not the answer.
Tell that to Mom or Richard.
One guy a very good friend of mine actually last year died. He died of pancreatic cancer. He had 47 guns in his gun safe.
47. I mean, maybe he's a collector.
Well, in all fairness, one of the guns was his grandfather's,
Okay,
so it was a little
a
BB
little
gun,
sentimental
you
for
know.
him.
So 46 of his own, right?
But what do you do with 47 guns? Not that he ever would go into a school and shoot the school up. Obviously, he wouldn't do that. Do you think you said about having trained people with guns on schools would help? It would have helped with the supermarket, because I think the supermarket. The problem with the supermarket was I do think it was a right wing motivated on social media. I mean, the guy had the thing live on Facebook.
Right wing. What does that mean? What do you mean? So it was political, you think?
No.
What do you mean then?
You don't have to be right wing to be. It was an. I think it was. I mean, out of all the people that were shot, how many?
He was racist.
No, that's what I'm
It's
saying.
just that. Forget it. Not right wing, because you don't have to be racist if you're right wing. He was just racist.
But the thing that was so horrible about that to me is that he Facebooked it.
Oh yeah, that was terrible.
That was just, but I mean, it was definitely a racially motivated.
Absolutely.
And then the other thing that was horrible about that, to be perfectly honest, was, to me, was, and you know more about this than what I do, because I'm not very educated on the gun thing. All I know is I don't agree with it, so I don't touch it too much. But he bought the guns legally from one state, and then he altered it in some way, didn't he? He changed it.
Oh, I don't know. The grocery store, the top shooter.
Store,
yeah, I'm not.
He changed it in some way that I don't know.
He modified the gun.
Modified the gun, which is easily to do, and apparently that, I don't know whether it held more guns or whether it was whatever.
Well, he went in with a purpose. I mean, you're in a grocery store, rolling up on people, just shooting them, and specifically black people. I mean, that he was just, and he lived, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with him, or to him, shall I say? Because for me, that he'd be on the fast track to the death penalty. Period. There's no 5-10 years of appeals and all that crap for what?
People are going to criticize me when I say what I'm going to say now, but I agree with you. But what really upsets me is the money that it costs us to look after him for the next 10 years.
That's what I'm saying.
I
mean, he recorded his actions, so
everybody is, has their rights, and there's, a public, is it a public attorney that will
public defender, yeah,
public defender. And I understand all of that, but the truth of the matter is, I mean, the money that it takes society to do that.
Yep. Because if they do give him the death penalty, he may be 30 before they do anything to him. Why? This dude, he chose his path. Just deal with him. So, anywho, I feel like that was I mean, it's kind of a heavy topic, but it was one that I think that we needed to discuss.
No, I'm glad we spoke about it, because the gun thing really bothers me, to be perfectly honest. It bothers me.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's a definite answer to the problem.
Right.
Now, you know how I feel about healthcare being more accessible, and the cost of prescription drugs, it's just ridiculous. And I think if that was more accessible, all right, sometimes it's easier for a therapist to come in than what is for you as to be a good father.
Right.
In all fairness, I think there's bad fathers out there. I mean, I don't think I'm a good father. Not when I look back,
At least you're present.
Yeah. But well, is there ever a father that's as good as they should be? Is there ever a husband?
There's room for improvement for everybody. Yeah.
So, but at the same time, I think maybe having a professional is a bit easier to solve it. Now like with any professionals, you get good professionals and bad professionals. But I just think that if it was more accessible, I think healthcare in America is so complicated.
It is.
It's too complicated for what it is.
I don't disagree with you on that, man.
And it needs to be a simpler system. And that, I really think, would these number of occasions with these shootings, would it help if mental health solutions were offered and more accessible to people, especially 18-year-olds?
Right.
And one of the questions I've got with this 18-year-old that shot these kids in Uvalde is, did anybody at his school or anywhere not see anything in the way that he was acting?
I think you had to, because now it's coming out that
there's got to be some sort
he
of
was so
signal.
closed off.
There's got to be some sort of signal somewhere.
Something. I agree with you, man.
And I'm not your gun advocate, but at the same time, I agree with you. In a case like this, as I said, I don't think it's necessarily a gun problem. It's a mental health problem.
Yeah.
But we need to address the mental health problem, and I think not just mental health, but healthcare in general needs to be more accessible.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, cool.
So, Mr. Trump's in town.
Well, he was scheduled to be in town, but he was talking to some of these families that just lost these loved ones here. But he was in town to speak already, or scheduled to be in town to speak at the NRA convention that is here this week. For those of you that don't know, so if you see some crowded freeways, there might be some of the National Rifle Association folks over there. It's probably the George R. Brown. I don't know where it is.
I don't know where it's being held.
It
didn't say.
It'll be on Friday. It's not his first time. Trump's usually at these
6 years
events.
He's done.
Yeah, he's done it. Year after year over there. But yeah. So he'll be flying into Ellington Field. So we'll see there. We shall see.
I do think we've got to get over this. You have my thoughts and prayers. I don't think that's enough.
Oh no, we gotta.
We have to do something about it.
We do.
And
if that's mental health, if that's, I don't know. I just get sick of hearing about we gotta pass the laws. We gotta do this with. Man, what is that gonna do? What is it gonna do? Nothing. Nothing. A law wouldn't have changed this situation, but somebody with a gun would have changed it. One of them teachers put 2 in his head.
So you're saying that we should be arming teachers?
Or not necessarily some type of paraprofessional, if a teacher isn't comfortable doing that, should be allowed, other than just the one police officer. Look at Manville High School. They found a kid yesterday that killed himself on the softball field. Now, I don't know all the details of what actually happened with it, but you think about a high school of that size, you got 2, 3 police officers on campus. What are 3 cops going to do with 4,000 or 5,000 people? Nothing. If they decide to rise up, man, it's a wrap. They need help. They definitely need help. People that are trained to deal with those situations. Spend the money to do it. They spend money on all this standardized testing. Frankly, if you want my honest opinion, they need to incorporate some classes into the curriculum to help these kids deal with just life. How to talk to people, how to deal with situations when folks aren't your friend, how to deal with, make those classes.
Confrontation.
Yeah, dealing with confrontation.
And I don't think that's a bad idea at all, because everybody spends so much time on these things.
Yeah. Tell them how to interact with each other.
They don't interact these days.
And don't allow all this, bullying and all that kind of crap. It happened when we were in school too, but we were tougher. We were built. But I think now you need something required, that they got to take these classes to learn how to deal with this stuff. So, anywho.
Yeah.
That's about a wrap. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, good, man. So,
Well, it's been good. It's great to have you back, Jay.
man, I'm glad to be back, man. I'm glad
It's
to be
great.
back.
It's great to have you back. And if
Uh,
anyone wants to join our second channel tomorrow that I've started, which is just going to be people in the industry, in the real estate industry, the Olympian Table is going to be obviously topical, talking about modern
Yeah,
things
yeah,
that we have
absolutely.
in the real estate. But tomorrow for the Texas Real Estate Show at noon, we're going to get people, experts in the industry, and just think of what they think about things. And it'll be interesting for you to ask him a few questions. I'm sure it will.
yeah. Hopefully, I can be finished and wrapped up if it doesn't go
You
too
know.
long for me. So
So,
I look forward to it.
tune in and see us tomorrow on YouTube live at noon. All right, guys. Well, thanks a lot. That's a wrap. We appreciate you tuning in.
Absolutely.
Thanks a bunch.